We're at the crossroads with MDB, that's right. I break down albums. Today I'm going to talk about a particular artist who I find absolutely fascinating. The story of his life is worthy of a movie, a book, a documentary, many, many things. And it's been explored and it's also been ignored. It's a very, very interesting story. I'm going to talk about this man called Steve Adams, Steve Georgiou, Cat Stevens, and Yusef Islam. What have they got in common? They're the same guy. That's right. An incredible artist. Cat Stevens, the songs that he wrote from a child when he was a kid in England in the early 60s being a pop star. The guy created these unbelievable songs. I mean, really, really extraordinary. But he was always on this metaphysical path. And, it finally arrived at becoming, a Muslim. Which, of course, created the most extraordinary furor. I mean, you couldn't write a story based on a pop star who became this absolutely provocative, controversial figure. And this is way before all of the disasters in the Middle East, at least the disasters that we became aware of. And when I say we, I'm talking about this culture became aware of. But just an amazing man. Just an amazing man. And a man who went through a lot of stuff, man, a lot of sort of near-death experiences. And as you all know, when that happens in your family or even to you guys out there, your life changes. You look at it more seriously. You put it under the metaphysical microscope and see what is going on in my life. But this guy, in the 60s, he wrote all these tunes and became a pop star. It's I'm going to get me a gun. I love my dog. These are all huge songs for him. And he was discovered, and he was really, really cute. It was really, really beautiful. My connection with him is sort of interesting, since one of my dearest friends is Patty D'Arbanville. We used to run in the 80s with a bunch of people. Patty, Don Johnson, Melanie Griffith, Miss Pamela, my wife at the time, and it was a great bunch of people. Also included Stephen Bauer, who played magically Manolito in Pacino's Scarface. Very interesting bunch of people. We used to have these Trivial Pursuit games with them. Really incredible people. Bob Dylan, Warren Beatty, amazing. It's a great story. I'll tell it sometimes. Maybe I've already told it. Who knows? But it was a great time, and Patty was with him for quite some time. Hence the song Lady D'Arbanville. And at that time, he was a hedonistic rock star, indulging himself in the great beauty of Patty D'Arbanville and the great things that were available. If you can picture the trajectory of this guy who was born a young Greek boy in London and ended up Yusef Islam and everything in between, it's very interesting. He disappeared. He disappeared from the pop scene in '68 because it was the height of his popularity. I mean, he was huge. He was just a massive artist, but he was really relatively unknown across the Atlantic. And but he got signed by Island, and in 1970 he exploded in America. But in '68 he was 20 years old, and after this sort of like meteoric beginning to his career, he contracted tuberculosis. And he spent a year recovering, and I think out of that came a very different man, because it was all pop music. Then it became that record, Mona Bone Khan, I think is how you pronounce it. He was 22, and it was simple, it was heartfelt, it was spare, it was acoustic, it was keyboards, it was restrained, it was folk, it was blues. It was very, very characteristically different from his early beginnings as a pop star. And he found that just trivial after the demons of illness, had attacked him, and there was a kind of a world weariness to that, and it was a modest success. But then he did Deeper the Tiller, man. And that just took over. I mean, that's Wild World, and all of those wonderful songs, Father and Son, these beautiful songs. But they're all songs of leaving and traveling through time and space and so on and so forth. And he was with Patty at that time, and they had a long relationship. They broke up, and that was heartbreak. And then he started to really kick ass. Teaser and Firecat came out. Peace Train was on it. Morning Is Broken, Moon Shadow album sold 3 million. Just an amazing thing. thing. Just very, very interesting. Had an affair with Carly Simon. So now he's a rock star, and he's not happy. He's not happy with it. And then he did Catch Bullet 4, and that was a huge album for him. Went gold in like 20 minutes. And then something happened to him, man, and it happens to people. And he went to Marrakesh, Morocco, and he had this sort of conversion. And he thought, I'm going to play music for God. He heard some Moroccan music, which Robert Plant, of course, was very affected by, and Brian Jones, as you recall. And he wanted to play for God, and he did. And he studied the Quran, and he became Yusuf Islam. And if you really listen to his lyrics, they really do reflect Peace Train, etc., this desire to be, something else. And of course, that created an enormous furor in the rock and roll culture. He became Yusuf Islam. He married Mubarak Ali in 1979, and that was that, And then his life progressed into just sort of being of service to his community, which is what we should all be doing, clearly, especially at times like this. So I applaud him. I have absolutely no prejudice whatsoever against anybody's religious choices, and Yusuf Islam created some of the most beautiful music that entertained millions and millions of people, and long may he be wonderful, and long may he flourish in this eclectic, beautiful world.